So just a preface of this video, I realized I never plugged in my microphone, so it's just been sitting here unplugged, so apologies for the lack of better audio. I'm going to do my best to correct this. If you're a first-time viewer of my videos, I swear I have better sound quality than this, but yeah, sorry for the sound quality. I'm going to do my best in post to optimize the sound quality, but you're going to have to suffer through some less than perfect sound. Apologies, but here we go. So I can finally scratch this one off my bucket list. This was a concert that I had been looking forward to for quite some time. I have already seen as many progressive rock acts from the 70s as I possibly can. And this was one of the last ones. I saw King Crimson perform here in Toronto on July 5th last week, and I was ecstatic. They were playing Massey Hall, the same that they were playing back in 2015. My first thought was it was a very interesting way of structuring their performance, in that most of what had usually been forefront was actually in the back. So the drummers, because there were more than them, were up front, and there were 3 of them. And my first thought when I saw 3 drummers was,
you don't need 3 drummers. Yeah.
Thanks.
But in this case, you actually kind of do. And then behind the drummers on a raised platform, you had all the other musicians, Robert Fripp, Tony Levin, and I've already forgotten the other guys just because they've been changed up so much. But the lead saxophonist and clarinetist, he was on the one side, as well as the other lead guitarist and Tony Levin, the bass player, and Robert Fripp, the kind of the brainchild behind this whole thing, and most of the King Crimson stuff. So the first thing that I realized is just how percussive this whole venture was. Because there were 3 drummers, it exploded when we had the opener of this, which was Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 1, and I'm so glad and so excited that they opened up with this. I find Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 1 generally gets overlooked, but I love it a little bit more than Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 2, the one that most people know of. And when it came in with that just explosion of sound within the first real oomph, you felt it with the 3 drummers, and it hits you in the chest, and it wakes you up, and it grabbed me. Up to this point, I'd seen a lot of King Crimson imitators, and a lot of the new bands out now that are sharing their music with me, and they say they get a lot of influence from King Crimson. You can see what they're emulating. And here, this is the real deal, and this was like the source. So when I finally got to see this, it was just so rejuvenizing and so genuine and so real. Then when they started to play Circus, I got very emotional. This was a song from Lizard that I never thought I would hear it live, and hearing it live it brought me back to when I first heard it, and it just provided such a new life. And speaking of, they followed that up with Lizard, Prince Rupert, and that was just killer. I wish they had played the middle portion of this as opposed to the second half of the track, because the moment within Lizard where it's like that little bit of a jazzy portion after the beginning portion, that I still feel is one of the most beautiful pieces of music ever written. So I wish I would have heard that, but I'm not going to complain with the second half of Lizard. Fallen Angel and Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 2 started off the next little set, and Fallen Angel was just beautiful. Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 2, how could you say no to such a recognizable song at this point? And the first set was ended with Islands. And that was particularly emotional for me because, again, I didn't think I would hear such a deep track of Islands. And when I heard it live, it brought me back to when I first heard it, and the innocence and the vulnerability of the song really bled through, and it was just so heart-wrenching. So when we come into the second set, there was a lot of change-ups. The first one looked a lot into the past, even with a couple of new tracks. The second set looked a lot more into kind of the future and looking forward. It started off with Indiscipline, which I'm not a big fan of, but I did appreciate. Construction of Light, as well as Easy Money, Banshee. These guys are all right. I really enjoyed Easy Money, and I love the jazz session that had within it. You can definitely tell that these guys are very comfortable playing, but also very improvisations and like really trying new things and really playing around with the atmosphere of the venue as well. Letters was really heart-wrenching and really beautiful. When we got to level 5 from Power to Believe, I got very emotional because Power to Believe is a very personal album for me, and when I heard level 5 being played, I got pretty emotional at that point. I'm not gonna lie. It was just so beautiful and so precise. I loved it. But then we got into the standard closer tracks. It started with Starless, went into In the Court of the Crimson King with the first encore, Heroes as the second encore, and 21st Century Schizoid Man as the last encore. And these guys, because Starless is such a peak for me in their career, when I hear it live, I always get a little hesitant because I have in my head the perfect performance and I haven't quite heard it yet. It got very, very close with one that was captured in like the 1977 live recording. Like the rendition that they did was still very good, but when they come into the climax and they come into the final play out of the revisiting of the main theme, I really wanted to explode, and I thought with the 3 drummers they were going to explode like they did with Lark's Tongue and Aspic Part 1, but they never did, and I was a little disappointed that they didn't really bring it home. Instead, they just kind of played it out, and it almost felt tired, and I don't want Starless at the end to feel tired. I want it to explode, and it didn't quite hit me the same way. Same with the Court of the Crimson King. I was waiting for them to reprise in the Court of the Crimson King, but they never did. They went straight into Heroes, and it was such a little bit of a letdown for me that I couldn't enjoy Heroes because I was waiting for them to reprise in the Court of the Crimson King, but they never did. 21st Century Schizoid Man, for me, it was okay, and it was a good finisher. I really liked the energy that they provided, but it's not my favorite song from them, and it's my least favorite track from In the Court of the Crimson King. But I know why people love it, I know why it's so popular, so I know why they played it, but because of the letdowns of Starless and Courts, I don't know, it left me with a little bit of a low, and it left me with a little bit of a, I don't know, it left me with a downer, especially with how strong the set had opened with Part 1. Now that being said, I still thoroughly enjoyed this. They had a strict, when I say strict, I mean strict, no photography like rule. No cell phones and no photography. Before they even went on stage, they had these 2 giant signs that said, "Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you enjoy it. Please note, no photography while the musicians are playing." And even with this, the douchebag that was sitting in front of me brought out his cell phone when Starless started to play, and I kicked his seat a number of times, and he turned around and gave me that, "Why are you kicking my seat, bro? What's going on?" And I'm like, dude, I didn't spend over $100 for this seat to watch you check your emails and check your Facebook. Get off of your damn phone. Did you not see all of the giant signs, as well as the usher, as well as the MC saying no flash photography, and no cell phones? But he was still doing that, and so I was really pissed off at him. But you're always going to run into people like that, and it's a shame because it's idiots like that that ruin the overall experience, and it's why King Crimson had such a strict policy, because they even said, we want this to be enjoyable for everyone. And it's just unfortunately the world that we live in now, and it's a real shame that people still would prefer to check their Facebook, check their emails, check, you know, different things than be present in their moment. And I feel really, I want to say I feel bad for these people that don't know how to fully envelop themselves into a moment, but that's just kind of the world that we live in now, and it is a shame, but it's, you know, it's the benefit of having all of the accumulative knowledge of the human activity in our pockets. But, I mean, overall, I still thoroughly enjoyed this. I wouldn't change it for the world, and I loved finally seeing some of my heroes live. So, that's about it. Have you guys heard or seen King Crimson live? If you have, let me know of your experience by commenting down below. Also, if you were at the venue, please let me know. I saw a few of my friends there, and you know, I gave them a little bit of a wave. So if you're watching, hello. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.